back here again with another episode of Big Talk about small business. And I'm here with my co-host, Eric Howerton.
Hello, Mark.
Hello, Eric.
So
Eric, there's something about it. When the two of us get together, we always laugh.
Blowing it up, man.
Don't we?
It's make it happen, man.
It's always been good.
Make it fun.
Yes.
Because that's one of the biggest things in business is about still having fun.
It is.
It really is.
If you can't work with people you can have fun with, then something's wrong.
Just don't work.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times business is not about survival anymore. It's about, doing something new, innovative.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like we're trying to make sure we have enough water to live for the day.
No, it's not.
Right. Or grubbing around looking for some lettuce in the wild. That's right.
I don't know. Sometimes it is like that. Just depends.
Yeah. And as an analogy, but like we're not going to die by or live. It's not a matter of life or death by the business that we do.
No, it's not.
So you better have fun.
Yeah.
Or else it'll drive you nuts.
Well, now you and I are both bootstrappers, though. I mean, we both started out with nothing, and
I love having nothing.
Scraped our way out of the land.
Just fought like hell, like dogs, like a couple of rabid dogs out in the alley, fighting.
Well, we got a couple good guys out here who've been doing the good battle with us today.
Yeah,
I'm very excited to have them here. They're both friends of mine and people I work with. Richard Worsham is the founder of Janus Motorcycles, and Richard is he's just a cool guy.
He has to be cool to found Janus Motorcycles because it's a freaking cool brand.
Well,
cool product.
You got to know this guy. I mean, he's like super worldly. He's a very classy fellow. He is an architect with a master's degree from Notre Dame. His father is an architect who does historic preservation work, and Richard has a huge, wide range of knowledge, and he ended up in the motorcycle business. And then Grant Longenbaugh is the COO and president of Janus Motorcycles, and Grant has an unusual background himself. He was really a photographer, and
cool.
Got into the marketing business, and so these are two of the primary drivers of Janus Motorcycles, which is a really cool little company based in Goshen, Indiana, not Goshen, Arkansas.
But Goshen, Indiana.
Is there a Goshen, Arkansas?
Oh, yeah. It's right down the road down here yonder.
It is the most educated city per capita in the state of Arkansas. Seriously.
I thought that was Cave Springs. I don't know. You may need to look back at your Mark. You might have to look at your stats.
We had this discussion.
Somebody from Goshen. Don't know.
My oldest daughter lives in Goshen and has a horse farm.
That's why he's claiming it, man. Like that's why you're doing it. You always have a personal reason as to why you manipulate your stats for your own personal gain.
That's not right.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
But no, why don't you tell us, guys, a little bit about Janus and just sort of how you got started, Richard, in the business.
Certainly, yeah. So where do I start? I'm from Virginia, where there's also a Goshen, Virginia. But I moved out here in 2007 to go to grad school. Like Mark mentioned, Notre Dame architecture. Graduated in 2011, and 3 months later founded Janus Motorcycles. Got a lot out of that degree. Got a lot out of that architecture degree.
Well, you did learn a lot about design. I mean, you used that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's facetious. I prize my education there. A really unique education, just to mention, it's unlike any other architecture school. It focuses on traditional architecture, so more like the architecture that you would find 100 years ago than what's typically being built right now. And that had a big influence on how we approached designing motorcycles. But during the summers, while I was studying, I struck up a friendship with a local moped repair shop owner, and together we started just customizing bikes, restoring bikes, and eventually built one from scratch. And that motorcycle, well, moped really, served as sort of the stepping stone to, maybe we can, well, first of all, discovering that there was a network, this unique network around Goshen, Indiana, of manufacturing expertise that would allow us to do something like this at all. Typically, when you think about custom motorcycles or motorcycle manufacturing, Farmtown, Indiana is not the first thing on your list.
We used to have a T-shirt that had Milan, Berlin, what was Tokyo, and Goshen.
Yeah, it was that BMW, Honda,
Milwaukee was
Milwaukee for Harley, and then Goshen,
Bring it back. That's great.
But really, it was the place. It was being here in this community that was what was kind of what allowed us to do it, and it maybe even the catalyst for it because of the support we had from local entrepreneurs. To be honest, that encouraged us to take this kind of audacious step to found a motorcycle company. So that was kind of how we got into it. That's the basics. And then for the first 4 years, my co-founder and I basically built and sold our first model, which was a Halcyon 50. We would sell one and it would fund the next one, and that would fund the next one. And it was really more like a one-off, two guys in a garage. And then in 2014, I think it was 2014, Grant and Jordan knocked on the door and said, hey, there's something really interesting going on here. We want to help you. And together we basically founded again the company, the brand that and began the process of launching our first production model, the 250 line. So that's kind of
that's cool.
The abbreviated how we got into it.
Jordan and I saw a motorcycle company in Goshen, and Jordan's brother-in-law had also at the time started a little whiskey distillery, and we were ambitious ad men, and we thought, we've got an automotive account and a liquor account. Now all we need is an airline.
Just don't combine the liquor with the motorcycle business.
Or the airline.
Or the airline. Yeah, good point.
Yeah. Two of the three, but not, yeah.
So Grant, did you already have an kind of an ad agency going on when you approached Richard on that?
That's a great question. Jordan and I worked in agriculture. We worked for another manufacturing company making high-end equine and agricultural equipment. So this motorcycle was about the sexiest thing we've seen.
You were doing marketing and
yes,
all that.
Yeah. We were doing a lot of marketing, a lot of kind of fly-by-night marketing, product launches, video production.
Yeah.
Really just passionate about the creative side of that stuff.
So it was like beautiful, one-of-a-kind work of art motorcycles or manure spreaders.
Correct. That is.
And it's
that's a hard decision.
That wouldn't be a hard decision to make, would it?
No.
I can see why you got into it. So you started making these 250s. I mean, how did you guys live when you were starting this thing? I mean, did you make a living off of it or what?
Yeah, alternate revenue streams, definitely. Grant and Jordan still maintained their primary revenue streams, and then in my case, was very lucky to have a family. My wife was able to support my habit.
You were lucky, man.
Yeah.
Lived in a truck for a while. So
and then Grant, he lived in a truck. What were you, the Olympic Peninsula State Park photographer?
The National Park.
National Park, sorry. Yep.
So the 250s came out, and you had a great reception to these things. I mean, it was like I remember when it was happening, I was seeing so much in the media about these bikes.
It was a scrappy start. we actually launched, I have a hard time even believing it. We launched the 250 on a Kickstarter campaign, selling the leather goods that we.
I see. That's
As a
right.
passion project on the side. We had started designing bags.
I remember that.
messenger bags, all kinds of items made by this Amish guy. Because, I mean, to kind of dig into that local manufacturing community that allows us to do this, we have Goshen, or Elkhart County. Goshen is the county seat, is the capital of the RV recreational vehicle industry. 80% of RVs are made here in Elkhart County, and along with that RV manufacturing economy or industry is a very large Amish community that stretches in the surrounding counties as well. And so you get this kind of weird combination of Amish that are traditionally doing their own small, like, blacksmithing, machining, leather work, even leather tanning. I mean, everything you can imagine, kind of homestead, but then also a factory environment with people manufacturing stuff in factories, and then contracting with these local shops. So we found this guy who was,
By local, you mean like medieval sometimes.
yes, yes. Medieval with fax and machines.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, he was making these really incredible bags, and we launched a Kickstarter essentially but on the back of those bags, selling those as the perks of the Kickstarter. And we're able to we doubled I don't even remember what the amount was, doubled our very small ask.
It was about $60,000 was the total that we raised. So, and
that
that can't sell automobiles on Kickstarter, which is why we sold purses instead.
I would say.
And that was that was basically our foot in the door to the first step of formalizing this and getting the next step was getting emissions certification. So once you start stepping into the world of motor vehicle, automotive, there's all kinds of barriers to entry, safety regulations, and the environmental requirements are very rigorous, especially if you want to be in California, which we knew from day one that we needed to do. So it took us about a little over a year. And so I think we raised the funds, and then I think it was early 2017, we received our certificate and were able to start really upping. We were building bikes before then under the legal limit, but then we were able to start producing them in volume for us, which would have been, what was the first year?
2018, really. We got it late.
How many units?
100.
100 units. Yeah.
So how did
kind of from there
Up and to the right.
Yeah, it's just been a straight line progression of increasing sales every single year. It's completely linear. It's wild. So how did you get?
To give you an example of the kind of background of manufacturing and knowledge that we have here, one of our business partners now, he was an advisor, and he worked on fuel delivery for the SR-71 Blackbird plane. And he's retired and makes maple syrup and has a barn full of motorcycles and helps us figure out our carburetor.
Yep. Yeah. When it gets beyond our engineering Ken, then we can call in Ken or some of all the buddies that used to work at Bendix that he has, and it's incredible. It's like I've been saying lately, it's an elite team. Even just the employees that we've been able to find locally, the passion and the drive that we've been able to find in this area is just unbelievable. It would not be possible without the support we have. So
Well,
incredible.
It wouldn't be possible either without the culture that you've created there,
Right.
which is one that, people feel like they're part of a family, and they're all, excited to make the company successful.
Yeah,
I mean,
Mark's been out and visited and seen it in the flesh. So
Yeah.
it is like, we don't have dealers. We sell direct from. So we do the design, engineering, fabrication, assembly, marketing, and sales all under essentially one roof. And a lot of our customers, the pull is to, it's kind of like a pilgrimage to visit here and check out a bike. Although many of them just buy one online and we can deliver it right to their doorstep.
Well,
That's cool.
You've got a cult following. I mean, these owners are unbelievable as far as how loyal they are. But I want to go back to the 2017, 2018 period, and how did you get so much press? Because you were in Esquire magazine, you were on Jay Leno show 2019, I believe, New York Times, Wall Street Journal. I mean, that had to be fantastic as a way to really sort of get the ball rolling. How did you get all that press, you think?
Jay Leno was persistence.
Yeah.
Just kept on bugging his contact form.
Oh, so you were outreaching to Jay Leno to get on the show.
Oh yeah.
And we had somebody that was a production manager on his show that was from Fisher's.
He was from like Hammond.
Hammond, yeah.
Yeah.
2 hours away.
City in here, and it wasn't something that we orchestrated. It was finally after we kept bugging him, he's like, these guys are from Indiana. We need to have them on.
I used to go out to Hammond, Indiana for dinner in the 70s. My first wife is from the south side of Chicago.
All right.
And we'd go over there. I think it was Teeble's is where we went, and Hammond. But so that got you Jay Leno. But what about the rest of these? Amazing.
The biggest one for us early on was the New York Times. Maybe how did we get that one? It's a lot. It's the story is so interesting. We just try and get a hold of people, and it captivates them.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah,
Buy him a drink and
Buy him a drink.
compliment his boots.
Well, you've got such
I think the New York Times happened as a result of another piece of press we had, which was a little smaller. It was on the Rob Report or something.
Yeah.
And his buddy who wrote that was Jeff Buchanan who wrote the Rob Report, told his buddy Mark Gardner, you got to do a story on this. It also was kind of a cultural moment for the cafe racer custom bike scene. We capitalized on that for sure. The 2010s is really when you started seeing a lot of that reflowering of the custom bike scene that was not the chopper scene. You had these shows like the Hand Built show in Austin and the One show in Portland, and since then many more.
Bike Exif, the website, is a website that's got tremendously popular, and it features custom bikes from around, but it's what they call alternative custom. So it's not the
Orange County choppers.
the choppers.
Thank God.
The typical kind of thing that, the kind of the negative stereotypes maybe that some people associate with motorcycling, like either guys on or hopped up, Japanese sport bikes or the chopper thing. Those things have continued on in that new alternative custom scene, but I think they're really neat. They're kind of more refined and it really, the custom motorcycle scene has just seen this incredible resurgence, and we've been right along about it the same. I mean, that's kind of what got me into it was Zane witnessing that. And I go back to what I said though about the sometimes these journalists have found us is that I think it's the same thing that attracted Jordan and Grant, that it's a very appealing. Motorcycles are just fascinating. Mm-hmm. They're also, it's really, really, really hard to do to successfully stay in business or to even launch, to get this accreditation. So it is something that it is fascinating, and it's the motorcycle itself is a machine that people are drawn to. It's magnetic, even if you're not into it. So that's what we're trying. That's what we are capturing, or trying to at least.
Yeah, you got a totally different product. I mean, it's not necessarily, as you said, the Orange County chopper set. I call those guys bike decorators.
Yeah.
I don't know what they do, but it's horrible when they make one that's like, here's an International Harvester version of a Harley, and it's green and yellow.
The Caterpillar.
It's like
Mark, for you.
Yeah, it's like, here is the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life. Okay, and then the two guys can fight about it while they build it. But one time we got asked if we'd be on a TV show for our house, our renovation redevelopment business.
Yeah.
And I told the producer, I said, well, we could do it, but we don't argue all day and fight with each other. And they're like, well, that wouldn't be interesting. We don't want to do that.
Yeah,
we need faux drama. So you've got this totally unique product where you make these small displacement motorcycles instead of monster engines. And then you've got like a really different audience for the product. Tell us a little bit about that. How did you get that audience, you think? And what would you say the archetypal buyer of your bikes would
let me
be?
talk a little bit just about the category, and then I'll let Grant talk about the audience a little bit. But I don't think we knew really when we were first building it there was some luck associated with it, that it was really something that was sprung out of a personal appreciation for a specific style, and that the Halcyon is something that captivated me because of my love of historic vehicles, and like especially the way that they kind of coalesced in the 1920s and 30s.
Yep.
I couldn't explain why. I'm getting better at it now, but there was something about that was like, okay, we need to, whatever that is worth continuing. And so we didn't really know. We didn't have the great vocabulary to describe what we were doing, but we created something that was highly differentiated from anything else that was available. They always say, "Oh, there's always a competitor." Well, but nothing directly a big challenge. But in our case, it can be a big advantage to us. It's just like nothing else you see on the road. What we've been doing over the last, 10 years is honing in on why and what that is, and it's a different approach to motorcycling, the activity of motorcycling. One that we talked a little bit about it earlier, but it's that it's not like the typical motorcycling that people expect, and by doing that, you open yourself up to a new audience of very interesting customers.
Yeah, you've elevated.
You can talk about that.
Elevated it.
Yeah.
But hey, before you get into the customers, though, Grant, I just want to say that this reinforces something I've seen over and over. And Eric, you tell me if you haven't as well. It's like, we always have arguments about how we teach entrepreneurship, and we tell everybody that they've got to do, hypothesis testing.
Right.
And a lot of market validation. But what I find is a lot of businesses are born out of this idea that the founder likes something or wants something, so they create it. And then they go, you know what, there's probably other people out there like me who would appreciate this. And then suddenly you find yourself with an audience of other people like you who appreciate the same things you do.
Yep.
Grant has introduced me to a marketing guru by the name of Christopher Lockett. I don't know if either of you all are familiar with him. He's serial, what do they call them? Marketing officer in startups. But he has given us an incredible vocabulary to start thinking about this. But you're exactly right that we did not perform focus groups and market analysis, comparisons.
Right.
We were just like, this is what we think is.
You were your first.
We like it. Yeah.
Yeah. This is hot. This is what we like, and so this is what we're gonna make. And
the internet has allowed you to not be the really weird guy in town.
Right. Yeah. But you gain a benefit by doing that, because we recognized a hole in the market that motorcycles, in our opinion, had gotten boring, overly technical, specification swamped. Like people are buying bikes based on specifications that they would never use, and so we decided to kind of turn that without fully. I don't want to give myself too much credit, that we just thought this was what it should be, but we knew it was wrong. How about that? And created a vehicle that turns that industry on its head. So it's slow, lightweight, very basic. But by doing that, what it does is it gives you the thrill of riding more intensely, which we feel like the modern car with all of its sound dampening and weight and everything is just completely, you might as well, recently I was thinking about it and thinking you might as well just be on a train. The car is more convenient because it gets you straight from your house to the work. But anyway, yeah, that's the kind of category thinking has really been helpful for us. And I think we've been doing it, just haven't realized it.
Correct.
So back on that audience, Grant, I mean, you've got you definitely have a group of very affluent, educated buyers, I think, compared to the typical motorcycle company.
That's the demographics. The psychographic is that they're romantics.
I see.
People that buy a Harley, Hell's orthodontists, maybe, they aspire to be
Hell's orthodontist.
countercultural or...
Yeah, but it is a romantic ideal.
Their ideal is a different romance. But
Right. Yeah, no, but it is.
one with braided beards.
Yeah.
Or people that buy a sport bike might aspire to this high performance ideal or to be edgy or whatever. But the psychographics of our customer is a sense of romance, maybe a little bit of nostalgia, but not
Time travel.
sounds fair sort of way.
Well, you mentioned earlier Rob Report having an article in that. Immediately, I was like, man, you couldn't have had a better article written to your demographic and your target than being in that publication.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we have gotten better and better at meeting that where it is and talking about our motorcycle, not apologizing for the lack of
Engine size.
lack of performance, but the different specification lists that we put out, because it is so endemic in the industry that the only thing that's worth money is horsepower.
Yeah.
And that's not true. People buy a fancy watch or a wooden boat or any number of things for any number of reasons because it tickles their something inside.
Yes.
Yeah. That target, they just, they want what they want.
Yeah.
Because they want it. I mean,
Exactly.
and if it looks good, it's simple, and then you got that historical aspect to it. I mean, all of it's just kind of working in your favor for that audience.
People want to pull up to the cruising and have something to talk about.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to talk about on this bike.
Mm-hmm.
You can talk about the horsepower, but you turn it on the head and you say it's only 14 horsepower, but it is instantly the coolest thing at the cruising.
Yeah. I mean, it's like some people just want to have like one thing they feel is actually good. Right. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's like everything's throwaway, everything's crappy, everything's going out of technology quickly. There's somebody that's got a better one. How about just have something that's really good that is a beautiful thing in and of itself? And I think that's what you've really captured there.
And that goes back to your comment earlier, Mark, and kind of Richard too, on the, you found something that you really liked. You had a passion to create that because there was something it's literally something innate inside your being. I mean, it's not describable. Exactly. It's not like you just thought of an idea. It's like there's a passion that's driving up in you as an entrepreneur. You want to do it. But because of that passion, that desire, like you go beyond what other people would do that you can't do in a freaking spreadsheet,
Right.
pitch deck. You probably have spent countless of ridiculous non-ROI hours trying to figure out some of the just goofiest stuff in the world that nobody else is thinking about.
Yes.
But that's where the magic is.
Details. Exactly. They don't go, oh, I love the way that seat's stitched necessarily, but they go, the thing looks beautiful. That's a great buy. You know what I mean? They don't know what exactly they like about it sometimes.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
And no, you're absolutely right. But sometimes it is I don't know, it's difficult to say, but we've often said that, it's so hard to do. Sometimes it's that passion that got you the idea in the first place that carries you further than other people have been able to hold on to the handlebars as well.
Well,
that results in the same, it's not just that it's a idea you had, which is a the first step, but it's sticking with it.
Well, it's, you know, like,
Well, the realities of business kick in too.
I don't want to beat it up too much, but I mean, obviously I get a little bit fired up about this, because if you go on the path of the pitch deck, raising capital, all this stuff, I mean, you got to be able to, how are you going to calculate in a spreadsheet, you know, and give an investor the value and the return on the investment? I mean, if you said, hey, I need 4 people to figure out the stitching on this seat, they'd be like, no, that doesn't make economic sense to me.
Right.
And so therefore you'll never figure it out. You'll never figure it out. I mean, as an entrepreneur, I'm sure, Richard, you had family, friends that were like, dude, quit figuring out that stitching. You're crazy. Like, that no one cares. And you're like, I care because it matters, and it has to be this way, you know, for whatever undescribed reason. But you can't convey that in a freaking pitch deck.
Well,
No.
and I think the realities of business, I mean, I'd like to talk a little bit about that. I mean, it's all well and good, and I think a lot of us do this. I mean, I certainly went through this with my housing business. I mean, you know the houses I used to do.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
I mean, just every detail you sweat it up. But then one day you wake up and you have to put out so many houses to cover the overhead, and then you know you can lose that. How do you sustain that? I mean, you've ramped this business up. It just gets bigger. It just keeps growing. How do you sustain that? I mean, you guys, you know, you're super involved with your business. You're thinking about it 24 hours a day. How do you sustain that motivation, and how do you pass it down to the other team members?
Well, it's always great to have some highly passionate cult members helping you up.
Yeah. I would say the same thing.
Yeah, you get the feedback from, we had one guy walk us, we've actually got 3 emails or visitors this morning that were highly motivating. One guy
From customers.
from customers. One guy bought a used bike from us, and he wrote it home, and he just wrote this obsessive email about, like, why do you use this grease on here? You know, like, and it's just so cool to see somebody else put that much passion and care into what you do. And then we had another call with our friend, a mutual friend, Tom, who has a Halcyon, and he's he interviewed
Good. This other customers.
Yeah.
Really? I didn't even know. This is the first time I heard about it.
But he tried to find everybody that had over 10,000 miles on a bike, and he wants to interview them just to write an article about it. And
Can you believe a customer just does that?
door and say, he just bought a 450, and he stood there and talked about Mercedes for 30 minutes. And it was cool. Like, you know, and comparing it to what it's like to walk into, I'm not comparing Janus to Mercedes, but maybe the experience a little bit of being involved in something.
And that's true on the customer end, but I would say also on the employee end, from the very get-go, we had folks that, and continue to do so, that have completely bought into and I won't say drunk the Kool-Aid, but bought into the idea, and then they brought a skill set that I don't have, like that we don't have, in terms of, like, we got a guy named Chase who, when we're like, we need an oil line system for the bike, and he just, like, completely can make a oil line system for a dry sump motorcycle engine from scratch and have it ready for production with a cost analysis.
Well,
incredible. And that's just one person. Then we have people that do paint, pinstripe. Of course, we started that. We had to kind of get those gears started, but it's always kind of fun. People are like, well, you know, they ask me about making a fuel tank, and I'm just like, I had the rough idea, and then I found the right people to do it.
well, that's a lot of businesses like that. You've got to build a team. Nothing's done by an individual, and some people are good at that, and some people are terrible at it.
Yeah.
You know, they've got to grab
relationship. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't just be pushing it on people.
Right.
In the case, I look back at this, you know, I there have been moments when I've been out of energy, you know, and the machine keeps on going, and they inspire me to keep at it. And I mean, that's probably my best answer, Mark, for your question would be, it's the team, it's the community we have. It's really incredible. And I mean, we have to take credit for gathering those people, or at least creating an idea that could inspire them. But
wow, what a team metaphor that we've used before is we're the kind of the sounds self-aggrandizing, but we pioneer the territory and say, we want something generally like this. And you call in the people that actually build the town, whether your town is pinstriping or fabrication.
Yeah, take a look at our first motorcycle, the pinstriping on it that we did.
Terrible.
I look at it now and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is horrendous.
You guys have a full-time woman who pinstripes all day. And
Really?
She's an artist. I mean, that's, the only other company I ever heard of that had somebody like that was Rolls-Royce. They had a full-time pinstriper at Rolls-Royce. I mean, that is so cool. I mean, can you imagine that? That's your job, is you stripe with a brush?
I wonder if y'all have the same experience I do. Back on the, as an entrepreneur, I charge forward on something. If I see something in the market that needs to be done, right, or to the product that needs to be enhanced, I'll just start working towards it. And then I'll have the team start taking it away from me because they can do it better. Yep. But I have seen it, and it happened just this last week. I got a guy that's working underneath me, it's working for me on specific tasks. But I mean, he just takes it off my plate because he can see my incompetency of following through with it. And I think as an entrepreneur,
it's a beautiful thing.
It is, but as an entrepreneur, you have to see those people, Richard and Grant, to your point, that are coming in, they're saving the day from you so you can continue to kind of light the other fires that are out there. Because a lot of folks don't see that like we can see it as entrepreneurs.
It's really important to see, to understand the difference between those two. Because, I mean, sometimes they take it and run away from you, and sometimes you have to kind of throw it.
Right.
But knowing where your...
I call that abdication.
Yeah, right. Abdication. Yeah. It's a great way of putting it.
I abdicate.
Delegation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's pure abdication. I've done it many times. But another thing, though, I think is...
You're advocating right now.
Yeah, exactly. No, but having the right business partner,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you guys have other owners in your business at all, but I think the two of you complement each other really well. Mm-hmm. And that's really helpful too. If you're not trying to tread in each other's territory, by having, you do your thing, Richard, you're the spokesman, you're the figurehead, you're the grand wazoo of this creation.
You design,
and the design.
Step on your toes with design.
Yep.
Right.
Something like that. And I try and do the same thing with other aspects.
And then,
it is. You're right. It's really important. We've learned it in the good way and the bad way to have a good compatibility or complementing the people you work with is really important, especially if you're, running a company.
I'm often like when I talk to folks, I'm like, I take more pride in just being a really good business partner than I do of like being an entrepreneur, because in every cases that I've had, like where I've been a partner, like I let them have their world that they're passionate about doing. I don't get involved in that. And there's been many times when I didn't agree necessarily with that perspective. And I might have had an experience where I knew that specific direction was going to fail or just going to fall.
Yeah.
Right. But I even would keep my mouth shut in that and allow it to happen, because in the grand scheme of things, they're going to have to figure that on their own, or else I'm going to be trying to butt heads and get them to agree with me. And it's going to be this source of contention, which actually in the long term has a lot more dire consequences to it than just letting your partner kind of figure it out on their own and be like, oh, hell, that didn't work. And then you don't say, I told you so. None of that kind of crap. You can't be emotional about a lot of that stuff. You got to keep your emotions.
Podcast right now?
Are we in a what, marriage? I mean, aren't we always in a marriage podcast?
Yeah.
It's true.
I always said having business partners is like being married, except there's no sex. And that may
that
make
is
it
true.
That may make it hard to make up. I don't know. But anyway,
I will agree with that.
everybody here knows what I'm talking about. All right. But no, it is good though. And the two of these guys have a good relationship, and Grant is really good at doing the stuff he did.
Yeah.
I mean, I always liken him to Fred White, and you've heard my Fred White stories.
Yeah.
Except, he's a little nicer than Fred. But it is nice if somebody's really intelligent and can advance these sort of longer term system kind of things that a business has to do, because it was never my particular forte.
Right.
Yeah. I was the guy who likes to, I come up with the ideas, and I'm the,
You like public speaking.
Yeah.
You like writing stuff. You like pissing people off. And
then just hopefully somebody can actually figure out how to do all this. And then maybe you get somewhere. But that does make for a good partnership, I think. If you're too close to each other, then the tendency is to tread on each other's feet too much, and then that creates a lot of conflict.
Absolutely.
So where are you going to go with this business next? I mean, you've had this straight line growth curve. What comes next for Janus? How many bikes have you produced now in total?
We've made 1,435.
We will be building our 1,000th Halcyon
belt. Hell yeah, notches on my belt.
1,000th Halcyon 250 this summer.
Okay.
Which is just one model. That's so far our most popular model, although the new 450 model is catching up on it. But what did you say, 1,400? And we're really excited for the next 5 to 10 years to be able to really continue that and kind of take it to the next level, while still maintaining our what really defines us is this connection with the customer, our ability to spec out the bike and have a relationship directly with us. And that's the thing, that no one else can do that.
Yeah.
Honda can't do that. Harley Davidson can't do that. We can. So we don't want to lose that.
Every person that buys a motorcycle gets a handwritten note from Richard.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I think that a big threat is losing that as you're growing and scaling. And of course, other things become priority then. But I think that'd be awesome to be able to retain that. How is your supply with the demand? I mean, do you is it there always a little bit more demand than you're cranking out, producing, or do y'all try to
ebbs it a little bit, and we've learned to pre-build. We try and build up some inventory around springtime and around the holidays, so that if somebody comes in with money burning a hole in their pocket, they can buy something off the floor.
Cool.
But 98% of our motorcycles are built to order.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So we really have been able to keep our inventory low, both in raw materials and finished goods. And that's also something that no other manufacturer will or can do. That's a competitive advantage that we have, that we're able to take an order and build it.
And people will wait. They want it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want exactly what they want. They can't get that from anybody at any price. Mm-hmm. I mean, to think you could buy a motorcycle for as low as $8,800 and get it the way you want it.
Yeah, it's cool.
I mean, you can't do that for $30,000 with anybody else.
And good job on the site too, on making that experience.
That configurator.
Oh, it's so
love it.
Like on the digital side, that's where I've been hanging out for years. And I mean, the fact that you can, as a user, jump on there and visualize what you're thinking, and
I think that's
simple and intuitive to use. I mean, that's a hard thing to master, but y'all
for a small company,
absolutely,
you just don't see that.
Nope.
Well, so a lot of our customers, we've thought about how to make it more like a kitchen showroom or a custom house. You want to start letting people play and hold the colors up against each other, and that's a big part of the value of the product, is their creative process alongside us. We've created the canvas for them to make something beautiful with, and it's hard to go wrong with the canvas that we have, because it's a beautiful design. We've had some zany color combinations come out of there, and I honestly haven't thought any bike has looked ugly.
There's some that I would be like, I wouldn't necessarily do that. But we've created a palette or a canvas that folks can can just go crazy with. And it's amazing. Like sometimes you see a raw part and you're like, oh, this is not going to end up well. And then you see the whole thing come together and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I can
see it.
understand the vision.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
So what comes next though for the company? What are your plans?
Well, we don't have a secret laboratory with our next 4 models, but we also know that we are still so tiny in the motorcycle world, and there are a lot of customers, because we know 1,400 of them that are very passionate about what we're doing. So my eye is on distribution and volume growth, always, while keeping my left hand on them. I don't know what the motorcycle metaphor is for that, but got to keep one hand on the handlebars. That makes us special. But we're really looking forward to nailing how we put this bike in front of more people and start to create that demand and get people thinking in that romantic mindset instead of that performance mindset, and thinking, what are you going to fall in love with on this bike, and get them cranking on it. And we want to sell 1,500 to 2,000 bikes a year in the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and more. I'm sure there'll be more variation, more options, and spin-offs, and yeah. I mean,
If I say that now, we'll have somebody wanting to order it tomorrow. So.
Right.
I
Be real
understand.
careful what you mention.
Yeah, I get it. I know they'll be demanding it, and you'll get 10 orders for it tomorrow, and then you have to figure out how to make it. But well, it's very cool what you're doing there, and I just love the company. I love the product. I think a lot of what it comes down to is, in a sense, you're attracting a very experienced motorcyclist, people like myself who've just had hundreds of bikes, and yet, they appreciate the difference and the uniqueness of this product. And then you're also bringing new people in who would never consider a motorcycle. And, I think part of that is it's the image of it. It's like, I don't want to be seen as a Harley rider. I'll be honest with you. I've owned Harleys. I don't like the image.
Yeah.
I saw somebody riding the other day with a woman on the back, and it said property of such and such on her jacket. And I thought, ugh, that's really distasteful. It doesn't go with my thinking at all. But, I can get on my Janus in my tweed outfit.
That's not motorcycles. That's a aberration created by
It is.
who knows what. That doesn't necessarily represent this incredible pastime that more and more people should be open or should have access to, and that don't need to feel like they have to get this whole costume that they dress themselves
Right.
in and just you can own a motorcycle and be a
Be normal.
person that
Be normal.
rides it to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't own leather chaps.
Right.
You don't need leather chaps. You don't even need them.
I think that's a really important point. And the other thing is, and I know it's hard to articulate this or back this up with facts, but I mean, I believe these motorcycles are safer than these overpowered bikes that, you don't need, as you said, 150 horsepower on 450 pounds. I mean, that is it takes a lot of skill. I've ridden my whole life. I can't master that on a racetrack, okay? I can't.
You go into
use
a
that.
dealership and they're going to tell you that 600cc, 80 horsepower motorcycle is a beginner bike.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
And
not.
you got an 18-year-old getting on that thing?
Right.
That is not, it's a recipe for disaster. I have an 18-year-old, and that's the last thing.
It is. I think these bikes are safer because they're not overpowered, and they're safer because they're light. So many people think, well, I'm going to buy a bike. Well, what am I going to buy? Well, a Harley, of course. Why is that? Because all my friends have Harleys, and I want to keep up with them. I had a friend who was a client in Massachusetts. This guy had 2 Harleys. He actually tore his Achilles moving one of these 800-pound monsters in his
He had a
garage.
motorcycle accident in his garage.
Yeah, these Januses, it's like a bicycle. I can move that thing around. I just think it's safer.
Yeah.
I don't know that thinking of the legal implications of claiming that.
I know. We
Tell
can't
you
claim
that
it.
It makes you more confident. A lightweight bike
It does.
breeds confidence, and that breeds enjoyment. If you
And the converse of that is that for experienced riders who know who know to look past the stereotypes or the thing that they feel like they should want or should, what the expectation is, that they know that going slow on going slow on a small bike is more fun than going super fast. What am I getting it backwards?
flip it around, yeah,
Going fast, really fast on a small lightweight bike, you get more out of the motorcycle than
Sure.
you do if you're going like second gear on a Ducati or a big fast heavy bike. So like there's different ways of looking at that, and so that's reflected in our owners, where we have owners like Mark or Tom, or new owners like we just put out a really fun video with Riley, who's a 22-year-old artist in Cincinnati. Has had her bike for 2 years, brand new to motorcycling. And
Sold a
it's
painting
interesting.
to buy your
Sold a
first
painting
bike.
for it.
That's so cool.
Is that not cool?
You got a video of that?
Yeah.
That's a great one, man.
We got some great videos. 'cause
So cool.
That's one of the things Janus does, is they spend a lot of effort on sort of documenting their owners. And
Yeah, I mean, you can't get better marketing than that, right? Testimonials. I mean, it's just incredible.
As Grant says, YouTube is our dealership.
That's smart. I heard something from a Walmart exec the other day that I thought was fantastic. That
What's that?
To that point, and I think that if you have that mindset, he's saying, hey, most people think that the closest Walmart to them in the United States is like 90% coverage, right? Everybody's within 15 miles. He goes, but the closest Walmart to them is in their pockets on their phone.
True.
So it's kind of the same thing for you guys. Like as you
Yeah.
think about your manufacturing facility, I mean, Goshen, Indiana may be pretty far away,
Right.
but if you make sure that it's actually right in their phone, and kind of going where you've already started with down your path, but I mean, there's always more to do in that space to where you can make that closer
you
to
want a
them.
dealership for the community, the support, obviously the availability of parts and service, and
Yeah,
getting to know and like and trust all the kind of the preliminary marketing goals that we have. Know, like, and trust the company.
Mhm.
That's what a dealership was for. We just used Jordan in his videos.
yeah. Can you do it digitally? Right.
yeah.
I think there's room for that.
Well, and I mean, you take it farther than that. I mean, the delivery of the product, like I've bought motorcycles online
Yeah.
that land in a crate, and half the time they're damaged when you get them.
And you got like a 20-hour project just
Well,
to.
some of them are. I mean, I know what I'm doing, but not everybody who buys a bike does, and you got to set it up, and it's got a million things wrong with it. When you buy a bike from Janus, it arrives in an enclosed trailer. It's fully assembled. You can turn the key on and fire it up. Boom, done. Okay, and
Love it.
that is a big, big difference.
It's huge. It's huge.
in the whole experience.
But to that point, like all these little points, like I think that on the digital side, right, communicating, how do you communicate all those little things? Because there's a bunch of them. It's like, which one you put first?
They show pictures of the bike as it's being built to the buyer.
Yeah.
They send those to you. You get a little collection. I went through that myself, which I thought is really cool.
Yeah, that is cool, man.
You can see it.
This is a little nerd moment, but we just figured out how to. We taught the build team, because they make the album and they take the pictures. We taught them how to. You just have to put the link to the album in the spreadsheet, and it automatically sends the album to the customer, so they get the very first pictures within like 2 minutes of it being. It's real time. It's really cool.
That's good, man.
It's like the pizza tracker. That's what we've called it internally. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's
The Domino's
something
Pizza
in a
Tracker.
lawsuit from Domino's now because it's trademarked, but it's our pizza tracker from.
I think you spelt that though, PISSA.
Yes.
Instead of the other way, because that.
It's like you see them. It's like, damn it, my pizza's been there for 27 minutes on the counter. When is that?
What the hell?
When is Anthony going to bring me that thing? It's your driver is Susanna.
I'd love to like while we're here, I want to know the history. Richard, you brought that up earlier, like bringing in the history in Janus, right? That historical aspect. Like, where is that sourcing from? Is there an era I mean, that you're really looking at? I know you mentioned 20s and 30s earlier, but is it an era? Is it a geography? That, I mean, can you take us down a little bit deeper into that?
It's a great question. We just, actually, I don't think I've published it yet. An article, a blog post we're doing and trying to think about what the term, how about this? A lot of folks, when they see our bikes, they call it retro. And
Richard doesn't like
I think it's true. I think that there is something called retro, and our bikes are answering that for folks. But that word has always been
Pisses you off?
It's been confusing for me, and I sometimes it does bridle.
It does.
Yeah. That's a nice way of putting it.
guilty as charged. Sorry, Richard.
And because when you think retro, what do you think? I mean, the first thing I think about is like the PT Cruiser, or I don't know, like
Or assign it Cracker Barrel or something.
right.
Wait, Mark, you had a PT.
Kitsch.
Mark had a PT Cruiser for like about 5 years.
I never had a PT.
No, you did too. You had a maroon one.
You're getting me seriously confused. First off, I've never had any car for 5 years, but a 911 Porsche. Okay, you know that's
true.
But no, I never had a PT Cruiser. But yeah, go on, Richard. We get it.
Yes. So to continue, there was something about the cars and all transportation really in the early era of like the golden age of transportation. So like I would say 20s and 30s for me, really, maybe even a little earlier, kind of capture that. Before that, they really were trying to figure out what a car even looked like.
Right.
What a motorcycle looked like, what an airplane looked like. But by the 20s, they had figured something in. And I've, in the past, described it like a form and function or balance or something like that. But as I dig in a little more, I think it really comes, it's more about the activity of, they were capturing that thing that we're talking about, that category of the sensation of driving or riding. And when you drive like my first car was a mass-produced Volkswagen Bug, 1972. That's not a rare handmade vehicle, but it participated in the. I mean, like
It's primitive.
visceral experience. You get up to 70 miles an hour, and that gear shift lever is like vibrating. And,
Yeah.
windshield wipers are kind of flapping around. And
Yeah.
it's just like you just feel like you're
The exhaust is coming
100
in.
miles an hour. Yeah, the exhaust. Yeah. You feel like you're going 100 miles an hour, and you feel like you're piloting a plane. That's what I would always feel like in my little Bug with a flat windscreen. And I feel like the same thing is true with these vehicles. Is that it's like you're piloting, not necessarily like you're an airplane pilot, but you're in control, or you're barely in control, one way or the other, of this machine, and you're
Responsible for it.
You're responsible for what you can choose what you want to do, and there's nobody watching you. Like if you're driving a Tesla, which I'm not knocking Tesla, I'm just saying that's like the logical opposite end of what we're doing, where it can drive itself, it can put the brakes on. You don't even need to. You're not going to be paying attention, and in that
Take your
sense,
kids to school for you.
you're a passenger. You're not driving. You're not a pilot.
Right.
And so those historic. It's not. I think to look at history nostalgically can often end up with a PT Cruiser, which is a modern car decked out in old clothing.
Jay Mays, he really perpetuated that with the VW
Yes,
New
that's
Beetle and the Thunderbird design.
He was the designer. Yep.
Yeah.
And some of them are more successful than others. I really like the new the Bronco. I think it's cool, but
I had one.
it's not going to give the experience of driving that is not going to be any different than driving any other comparable green car. It's not.
It's true.
Character like those old Broncos that have so much character, and you can take that if you want to focus on that, you start thinking about a Bugatti from the 1920 Type 35, and that's like that, but like isolated. And what we're trying to do is do that with motorcycles, but like it's not like Mark, you said how our Orange County choppers are like decorator bikes, and I think that's really perceptive because they're just decorating a chopper frame that they bought probably.
Sure.
And what we're trying to do is we're not decorating something, we're making it from scratch. Is It's like I was listening this morning to an NPR story about the rebuilding of Notre Dame. You know, they're using medieval axes to do it, and it's not because it's
That's cool.
nostalgia. It's because it's worth doing. It's because this is a thing. When we go in that cathedral, we have this amazing experience, and I think the same thing is true of it. Can be true of anything that has like people are engaged in making it and passionate about it, and
Well,
like that's what we're trying to do. So that's my fascination with history, is not that it's, and all of ours is not that it's like we're trying to throw back time to some kind of ideal non-existent past. Rather, it's that we recognize that they were onto something at this period. And by the 1990s, you know, motorcycles were all covered in plastic, and they all went, you know, most of them, the ones that were in the magazines, you know, they had 180 horsepower and who knows what else, and no one could even experience that. Where we want these things to be, you can experience it and you can have fun on it and
Participate in something.
be part of something, be a pilot and be a part of a community. So yeah, I think to get back to that category, I want to credit a lot with what we're doing. Just talking about this like from an entrepreneurial standpoint, it's a different. We're actually trying to do something different, not just compare ourselves to another product.
Our thought process was, can we even call it a motorcycle? It's not a scooter. It's not a motorcycle. It's not a moped. It doesn't deserve to be called a motorcycle, because people call up the image of a motorcycle and somebody's got bugs in their teeth or property on their back, or they are going 130 miles an hour down an interstate with a t-shirt on. Like to a lot of people, that's what motorcycling means.
Yeah.
And then we started thinking, what's the activity that people do? What do people participate in? And how do we name and claim that as something that broadens the category of motorcycling to people that have a more romantic ideal of what it means to get on a machine?
And to do that, we didn't look at motorcycling. We looked at other things like watches, like
and wooden boats.
or wooden boats, sailing communities, or there's other things that people do for
Pleasure.
Well,
To feel alive.
beyond that, to say it to like to really be for their soul,
Yeah, to feel alive.
to feel
Yes,
alive,
to live.
liberated. Well,
To live.
motorcyclists, they'll always tell you that, like, why do you ride? Because I feel free, man. And you know what? I understand what they're trying to get at. I think they're just not. That's all they need to say.
Yeah.
Well, it's exciting, and I think it's great. I love how you're created this niche. You know, it's always been, I think, the way to build a small business is have a really good product, charge a relatively high price for what it is. And I can look at Janus two different ways. I can go, really, it's cheap to get a custom-made motorcycle. I mean, nobody can do that for 3 times the price. It's expensive for a 250, but it's not expensive for a motorcycle.
Right.
You know, but I think, you know, having a niche, having something that's truly unique is a really big part of success in small business. Selling something they can't get from somebody else,
That's it.
you know, because if they can get it from somebody else, then it just comes down to price.
Yep.
This is a very strange comparison, but I heard an interview of the person that brought Keurig coffee to America, which I don't really like Keurig coffee, but she said it's a very expensive cup of coffee compared to Folgers, but it's a very cheap alternative to Starbucks. And they found that space in the middle between going to Starbucks or Folgers by the gallon.
Yep.
Yeah. And you can get a little refillable Keurig cup if you want. And you can put Folgers in that, and then you have the best of both worlds. Well, guys, Eric, do you have any other questions
It's
for these
pleasure meeting you guys. Keep it up, man. It's really cool stuff, cool product, cool company.
It is.
It's encouraging.
Love you guys, and we'll be talking with you soon. And as far as our...
Was that love like as a business partnership or...
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't man love, although...
As much as I'm willing to go, Mark.
Okay, that's okay.
Well, you heard his comments earlier.
Well, you said you wanted us to have an emotional connection.
We'll make
but
up later.
but it's great having you here, and this is
Ride 2 up with you, Mark, but that's it.
this is going to complete another episode of Big Talk about Small Business. Thanks, everybody.
All right. See you guys.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Talk about Small Business. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming shows, be sure to head over to our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com, and click on the Ask the Host button for the chance to have your questions answered on the show. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn at Big Talk About Small Business. And be sure to head over to our website to read articles, browse episodes, and ask questions about upcoming shows.